Okay, good Erev Shabbos to all. We're up to Lamed Tes Amid Aleph Masechta Nazir, the new Mishnah. Very nice Gemara today, clean and neat. Says the Mishnah, Stam Naziris Lamed Yom. We said earlier in the Masechta, we saw Machloikis between Rav Pada and Rav Masna, whether the Naziris is Kodesh Yiyeh Gematria is 15, I think, and another sheet it was for, you learned it out 29 times. It says the halacha of the lashon of Nazir, 29 in the parsha, and that would be what? That would be 29 times, right? Not 30 times. Okay, so 29, 30. This is going to the opinion that Stam Naziris is Lamed Yom. Now, this is brought in. Agav the next thing. Gileach oishel gechu listim. If let's say he takes a haircut, or listim go ahead and go ahead and cut his hair, soisel lamed yom, it would override 30 days. It would override 30 days. Now we saw earlier in the Masechta, that the reason why you have to wait 30 days is for your hair to grow. So this is speaking obviously that it must have been on the day of the Malois that he's finishing the Naziris that you have to wait for another 30 days. Because if it was early on in the Naziris, right? For example, it was day 2, he'd only have to wait 32 days from day 2. Day 3, 33 days. So when it says Lamed Yom over here, a full 30 days, it means from after he had finished his Naziris, and on the day of that, of the day of finishing the Naziris, list him come ahead and cut his hair, then you have to count 30 days. But if the haircut transpired earlier on in the Naziris, you only count 30 days from that time on. So whatever day it is. So that Tosfos points out that this Lamed Yom is only on the last day, guys. Nazir shegaleach bein bezug, a scissor, bein betar, or a razor, or shifshef, or even with his hands, kol shehu. Even if you go like this, fellas, and one hair would fall out, you'd be over on your Naziris. I guess if you do it with warning and do it, b'meis, you do it for warning and you do it b'meis, then you'll be chayiv. So this is a tremendous chumrah. Even though it says kol nazir tavalei al roshai, it only mentions razor. We're going to see in the Gemara who I did what other cases. Oh, we'd like to welcome Rabbi Weiner, who is also from Eretz Yisrael. We have 2 people from Eretz Yisrael coming in, and of course, not only Eretz Yisrael, but the hot spot of the world, Clearwater, Florida. That's like a place that everyone has to go to. The only one in the world I know who goes there is my brother-in-law. But again, such is the case. Okay, there you go. Okay. Anyway. This is a very interesting shaila. Guys, when hair grows, now you know the answer to this, but the Gemara has the following shaila. When hair grows, does it go from the root, or the root stays and it grows from somewhere in the middle? In other words, when it extends, do you view it extending from the bottom up, or do you view it extending, in other words, that remains and it extends from somewhere, let's say in the middle, and you're calling it the top. The Gemara will call it the top because when it's standing, it stands upright. My nafkamina, guys, listen to this interesting lumdis. That you have to take a haircut is if the goyim cut off your hair that is tali in your naziris. If they didn't cut off your hair that's tali in your naziris, then you would be okay. So, fascinatingly enough, if your hair would grow from here, and they cut off your hair and they left that, then you wouldn't have to count 30 days, because the hair that you were made makabel naziris is still in place. You have your root, it's growing from here. They only cut it up from the place of its growth, so therefore they didn't uproot your naziris because the hair that you makabel naziris is still there. Conversely, if it grows from the root, right, and they cut it off, then that would be gone. And therefore, what? You'd have to start another 30 days. Good? Says the Gemara. Iboilahu, the following shaila. Hi binsa, let's begin as binsa, this hair. Milatachas Rabbi, does it grow from the root? Or from the top? Top means, again, somewhere not from the root in the middle. The point being that the root, the hair connected to the root, stays in place. It doesn't leave. The hair that's the main point, that the hair next to the root stays in place, that it does not leave. L'may nafkamina, l'nazir shel gilchu listim. The nafkamina would be for a nazir that the listim went ahead and they cut his hair. V'shayibo, and they left over k'tei lakafoy shoy likroi, and they left over a 7th day of growth. As we're going to see on the base, 7 days to take grow enough hair that you'll be able to turn it over and it should be able to touch your skin. Right. If you're going to tell me it grows from the bottom, so therefore the hair that they're cutting off was hair that was there when you were makabel naziris. The naziris hashakle, they took away his naziris and he has to count. Rabbi, if you're going to say it grows somewhere from the middle, meaning from the top to the middle, it's not growing the bottom, and the bottom stays in place, right? The Agdish Hakoyim, right? There, what he was Magdish, the here is Magdish is still in its place. Again, since it grows from here, and they left over the bottom, and the bottom was in place at the time of Naziris, so it's like they never cut his hair, and he'd be able to continue his Naziris. That would be very interesting. Only Gemara to Kashaila, like very interesting how to do it. Hoshma meha inva chaya. We have a knit, a live knit. The koyim beikva de binsa. Where does it go ahead and stay? It stays in the root of the hair. Now picture a knit, it's over here. And the assumption is that the knit doesn't move. So if you're going to tell me that it grows from below, we should have the knit going up. If you tell me it grows from above, then the knit's in place. So the Gemara wants to prove now, since the knit is in place, it must be that it doesn't grow from the bottom, it grows from over here. That's what the Gemara wants to say. Rabbi, and if you're going to tell me that hair grows from the root, Beresha de binsi boiler makim, right? It should be where the knit should be at the top, because as the hair ascends from the root, the knit, which does not move, but it's dependent upon its attachment to the hair, as the hair rises, the knit would rise along with it. But the fact that it remains below, it must be the hair that's growing is growing above the knit, and therefore it remains in place. So we want to bring a raya that hair grows from above and not from below. And therefore, the Inyan Naziris, if you cut the above area and left the bottom, it would not be Saisi Naziris, and you would not have to go ahead and count 30 days from that time. Lo'olam mitachas Rabbi. No, lo'olam, I'll tell you, it grows from below. Agav chiyusei nachas v'yazal inva. Like, you thought that what? That the knit is lifeless, meaning it's alive, but it's stagnant. It doesn't move. It attaches and stays there. No. Ken Zayin, guys, it's attached to the bottom. Look at my finger. Attached to the bottom. The hair grows, and the knit really does grow. And what does the knit do? It just goes back down because it's alive, and it feels more comfortable next to the scalp. So it just goes back down. So you have no raya from knit as to whether what the hair grows from above or grows from below. Tashma, another opportunity to go ahead and try to ascertain exactly where does hair grow from. Inva mesa, if you have a dead knit, beresha de binsa, you know where it is? It's at the top. Now, here it's lifeless, good, and therefore it's at the top. So how did it get there? It can't be, it moved up. It must be, it grew from the bottom because it's ascending. Says the Gemara, it must be, if you're going to tell me it grows from above, this lifeless knit should be at the bottom, yet it's at the top. So it must be, it died, the hair grew from the bottom, and that's how it ascended. Says Gemara, no, Hasanami Mishum the lesbe chela, it doesn't have any strength. So Sharuge Sharige V'azal, it doesn't have any strength. So therefore, right, it could be it goes above, but it doesn't have any strength to go ahead and go back down. So it stays where it is. It stays where it is, but Einachinami, you can't prove anything from over here. Since it's dead, it doesn't have the koyach to go ahead and hold on to the hair. Maybe therefore what it's yaredish to the top of the hair, and therefore it stays there. Tashma, Mi blurius the kushiyim. Now, in the Masechta Avodah Zarah, we have something called a blurius. Picture the Mongols. If you remember the Mongols, they were a very famous tag team match from wrestling days. The Mongols, Tito and Beppo. Anyway, the little Bakias there. Now you have this. They had on their head. They were totally bald, and they had this thing growing out of their hair. That was called a blurius. In halacha, you're not allowed to go near it. Not like if you're cutting it, it was a blurius coming out. Right now, this blurius was tight, and then it got loose. The assumption be, how did it get loose? Because it grew, and therefore its root, it got loose. So let's bring a raya that comes mitachas. So let's bring a raya from blurius of kushim. The boss of the megadlin law rafilon mitachas. After it grows, it loosens from the bottom. It must be what is loosened from the bottom because it grows from the bottom. It says going to Hasanami, I did the kamta he mishich for the rafia. Since what he lies down, he has the knot, and he's lying down. Since when he lies down, the act of lying down loosens it. So Ken sign it doesn't grow from below, could grow from above. And that it loosens has to do with the movement of the person rather than the hair itself. So we were not able to be pushed to the shaila. Now we're going to be pushed to the shaila. Now we know that the 10th animal that came out of the corral, you'd go ahead and put red paint on the animal. That's how you know it's Maisa Behema. You put the animals that were born that year in the corral. Every 10th animal that came out, you take a stick with red paint and you hit the animal. So you have red paint on the animal. Now, the Gemara is going to be a beautiful raya. You see that the red paint at the bottom, the roots can be seen, and the red paint is on top. So it's a raya, it grows from the bottom. But says the Gemara. So sikrata, that's the red paint. When you do Maisa Behema, the Rafi Imra Militachas, you see that as the hair grows below, it's soft. Usually, when it gets here with paint, it gets matted, right? Yet below the red paint area, even though, let's say it's a sheep, so you have red paint on top, white paint on the bottom, and the fact is the fact that the white paint on the bottom becomes soft, the white wool is soft and not matted, is because as soon as you put the red paint on, then the whole thing was matted down. It was all hard. And after a while, it becomes soft. Why does it become soft? Because obviously it's going from the bottom, and you have a raya that here grows from the bottom. You have a raya. Vitanya, another example, right, of this is Vesu, Katsovi Sabya the Yiknun. You have these Sabi, these old people, they want to look young, and what do? They what's it called? All for men? What's it called? Baruch, I can't hear you. What?
The Grecian formula?
Grecian formula.
Just for men.
Just for men. Yeah, there was something just for men. So, and what
Most
happened?
of us in this shit don't need that because we don't have any here.
Shragi?
Mustache and beards.
Shragi is speaking about a beard, and second of all, speak for yourself.
Raggy, you got to speak for yourself.
But it's speaking about a beard. So what do you see? You see the fact that the roots are still white. What do you see? Obviously, that it descended, right? So it ascended, meaning, well, if it's a beard, it's descended, it's white. And therefore you see a raya that. So ikfa nimin, the ikfa is white, is shmamina militachas. Shmamina, we can be a raya that mitachas Rabbi, shmamina, you have a good raya. It's kind of what we knew all along, but the Gemara figured it out. So it's a interesting shaila, and interesting in halacha how you think that it's just a Gemara, classic Gemara, finding an obscure idea and applying it to Naziris. It's fascinating. The Gemara Tanya Naza shel Gilchuhu listim v'shayruba kidei lokef roishay leikroi eina seiser. Guys, let's go back to the finger. If you're telling me that it grows from here, and they're cutting it off over here, and it's not seiser, but 1 second. If you're telling me that it started from over here and it grew up, they are cutting off the hair that was there initially. So it should be slicer. So why does it say over here that it's not slicer? It should be slicer, right? Says the Gemara. And it says Gemara, keep going. What's it speaking about? Shel gilchu v'achem alois. They went ahead and they cut it off after Malois. In other words, after they finished, they cut it off. They cut it off after they finish. Umani, And who's the Tana that learned this brisa? Rabbi Eliezer. It's Rabbi Eliezer Damar who's of the opinion, right? Any person shenitma became tamei achem alois, right? Shiva seiser. It's only seiser 7 days because of the din of 7 days of misa. We had early in Masechta, guys. Early in Masechta, after Yimalois and they cut off your hair, do you have to go ahead and grow 30 days or not? Right? We had machloikas. Rabbi Eliezer was of the opinion you don't have to. What's the 7 days? It's not a Nazir stikadin. It's a Tamei Mei stikadin because you need 7 days to go ahead and be mitayr. You need day 3 and day 7 of having spritz upon you. So it's a din totally in Misa, not a din in Naziris. So it's very geschmack. This brisa that said that ain't a soiser, meaning it goes according to Rabbi Elazar, who says once you finish your malos, that's it. You don't have to. You can't be soiser, right? And you tell me what for? You became malois means after malois you became tummy after malois. So you did your naziris, and then you become tummy mace on day 30, right? What happens? You don't have to take a haircut. You have to wait 7 days. Why do you have to wait 7 days? Is because why? Because of to clean yourself up. So therefore, we can be pushed to the shaila that in fact it grows from below, and nonetheless everything is cool. That it grows from below, but everything is okay. You would not have to count 30 days. Right? My time of the Rebbe. So what's the reason you don't have to count 30 days? Yol tiglachas tarim tiglachas tuma. Ma tiglachas tuma shiva. Just like tiglachas tuma is 7 days. After tiglachas tahira shivas yamim. The kimli rabbanon kol zayin yomim asim azya they look at ikroi. It takes 7 days for what to get some hair back that you should be able to take the hair and turn it back into the root. Okay, so therefore we push the shaila and the kashas, we answer all kashas, and now we get this din. The Mishnah had stated the din of Naziris is lav dafka, not lav dafka tire. The pasuk says, guys, kol yemei neder nizroi, the whole day, all the days of neder nizroi, ta'ar lo yava al raishai. A ta'ar, a razor, should not go ahead and go over his head. Ad melois hayamim, until days 30. That's tam naziris, guys. You're not now. Asher yazel Hashem kodesh yiyeh. He should be kodesh. Gadol peres saroishay, growing his chup. So there's two halachas over here. There's a lav and there's an asay. There's a lav of ta'er, a razor lo yaval roishoy. There's a lav that lo yaval roishoy, and then there's an asay of kodesh yiyeh gadol pera. That there's a mitzvah asay to keep your chup. There's a mitzvah asay to keep it. Now this lois asay, according to our Mishnah, was lav dafka a ta'ar, but the focus on lo yavar. Anything that will remove hair, even your hands that will remove hair, you'll be chayiv. That's what our Mishnah said. Our Mishnah's mashma, you chayiv for ta'ar, you chayiv for scissors. A ta'ar is a razor. You chayiv for scissors, and you even chayiv for your hair. All of those you would be chayiv. All of those you would be chayiv. Good. And in addition to that, there's an asay of kodesh yiyeh gadol pera, right? Gadol pera sarvaishay. So that's with that in mind. Let's begin. We're going to do to the two dots on that. We're going to do to Mem Amud Aleph at the top, and we're going to see a few different shittas. Nazir shegileach, says the Mishnah, bein betar, bein bezug, oy shesif seif kol shu chayim. Tanrabanan tar. It says again. The pasuk says kol yemei ned and nizrei havelo yavel reishay tar. When it says razor, ein liyela tar. All I would know is a razor, but a scissor. A knife, like something that's not a razor, not. Tolish, mirit, tolish, you disconnect. Mirit, a depilatory, maybe sifsuf, you move it, kol shehu, minayin. How do you in all those cases you'd be chayiv? Hamaloymar, kodesh yiyeh gadol peres saroishay. There's a mitzvah say to keep what? To keep it. So in other words, it's mashma, according to this, you would get malchus. It's mashma from this, I think, you would get malchus for ta'ar. You would get malchus if you go ahead and use a ta'ar. And there's a mitzvah say to keep all your hair in place, right? It's a mitzvah say kodesh gadol pera. Right. That seems to be the shita of Rabbi Yoshia, right? One more time. So he goes ahead, he cuts his hair with a razor, or he goes ahead, rips out his hair, or Mayred uses the depilatory, or uses his hand, right? How do you know that you're over? Now, what do you mean? You're over in asay. It says kodesh gadol pera. It says kodesh gadol. That's the mitzvah asay to keep it in place. Divrei Rabbi Yoshia. So, guys, very important. You'd only get malchus for tar. So the chayyim is not like our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is mashma. You will be chayiv for even with your hand, you'll be chayiv. Even with a scissor, you'll be chayiv malchus. This seems to be saying the only way you can be chayiv malchus is tar. But if you do another means, you're mevatel the assay of allowing kodesh yiyeh, that meaning that you should be kodesh by gadol pera. You understand? You don't get malchus for an assay. You get malchus for a lois assay. Okay? Now, Rabbi Yonasan is of the opinion, tar, it says tar, ainli elatar. I'd only know tar. Meira toles sifsif kolshu potter. He argues on Rabbi Yoshia. He says you're not even mevatel an assay. Even if you would use a depilatory or your hand or a scissor, you wouldn't even mevatel kodesh yiyeh, right? Potel garmi, name assay. What does that teach me? Lememra the imgilach lebetar. If you do use a razor, then you'll be over an assay and mevatel an assay. So it comes out like this. Regarding razor, everybody holds, you get malchus. Sai Rabbi Yoshia and Sai Rabbi Yonasan. Everyone holds, you get malchus. Regarding removal, using another means, Rabbi Yoshia says you'll be mevatel the assay of kodesh yiyeh, and Rabbi Yonasan says you wouldn't even mevatel the assay of kodesh yiyeh. Clearly, they're both not like our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is mashma, you get malchus even without a tar, you get malchus, right? And here, this is the way I'm learning. And over here, they're saying no, you would only get malchus for a tar. And I say, says Rabbi Yoshia, you'll be mevatel. Says Rabbi Yonasan, you wouldn't even mevatel and I say. So what does Rabbi Yonasan do with kodesh yiyeh? There's an assay over there. If you use a razor, then you mevatel the assay. But if you use your hands, then you potter. Guys, good? That's the first day. Next day. Tanya idach. We learn another brisa. Tar. It says tar. It's mashma. You only over the lav with a tar. Tolish meirat sifs of kol shehu. Right? How do you know what? If you do these things, how do you know you'd be over on the lav? So this is the most machmir kashita. You hear this? Here, you would be over on the lav. This is like a Mishnah. Talmud loymar lo yava roishay. In other words, tar is a razor, and then it says lo yava. You know what lo yava means? Any means of havara, any means that would go ahead and be maver and take the hair off your head. Mashma even depilatories, mashma even scissors. So here, einachinami, you would get it. Tar lo yava, lav. That's a lav to go ahead and take off your hair in another means of a razor. Even if you use another means of a razor, you would be over because it says lo yavar. Lo yavar. Do not use a means to be over, to take away hair. Do not use that. If that's the case, in the end of the day, you're going to tell me you're going to get malchus for any which way that you remove your hair. Why are you telling me tar lo yavar roishay?
How good it is.
So we usually recommend putting a smoke alarm in each bedroom.
I apologize for whoever that was. Anyway, so now you have a problem, guys. If you're telling me that you're getting malchus for any which way, why do you say the word tar? Good. Why do you say the word tar? You got it? You're getting malchus for any which way. So why say razor? What does razor have to do with anything? So listen to his comment. Let me give you more outside. It says the following. How do you go ahead and when after the Nazir goes ahead and finishes Naziris, right? How does he go ahead and cut his hair? And the answer is with a razor. How would you know that? How would you know that? Right? The only way you'd know that is that says tar. In other words, the tar that it says the following: tar. You know what it's telling you? Tar, that it's telling you not for the isser, it's telling you for the heter. It's telling us that what? That you go ahead and you remove the tar. You use that to remove your nazirs. Now the nazir, guys, the nazir is going to be a baldy. The nazir is going to give him he's going to be bald. You're going ahead. We spoke at. You're being over the lava like sakifu pasroisham. The assay of cutting your hair is being daicha the isser of cutting off your payas. You're giving him a baldy. Mamish, the guy, you're cutting off all his hair. You're using a razor. Now, how do you know that, guys? How do you know you're using a razor? So there's another place where you have a haircut in Shas. That's the Mitzvah. The Mitzvah removes all his hair twice. Once at the beginning of his 8 days of purification, and once at the end. You know what he uses? He uses a razor. He uses a razor. But you cannot learn out Nazir from Mitzvah. Why? A Mitzvah has to remove all his hair on his body. Totally. The Nazir only has to remove the hair on his head. So I would say the Mitzvah, which is Mochamer, he goes ahead and uses what? A razor. Because he has to cut off all his hair. Masha'enkein a Nazir that only has to remove the hair on his head, you wouldn't know razor. Therefore, it says in the Parsha, razor yavar, to allude to the fact that what? When he comes the day Tyra, when he removes it with a razor. Okay, so what do we have so far? Let's go through it. Let's go through the Shittas. We have Rabbi Yeshaya, Rabbi Yonason, and a second brisa. In the first brisa, Rabbi Yoshi is saying you would get malchus only for a razor. You'd be mevatel on say if you use any other means. Rabbi Yonason says you'd only go ahead and you only go ahead and have what? A malchus by razor. You would not even be mevatel on say if you use anything else but a razor. What does it say? What I say then? That if you use a razor, you mevatel both. Now we have a brisa that says, no, you would get malchus even without a razor. You get malchus across the board. Then why does it say razor? To teach me the halacha that when you go ahead and remove your hair after Yemai Malois, after day 30, you're going to remove your hair using a razor. Good. That's what the word tar teaches me. Rabbi says no. Rabbi says, ain't it sorech? I don't need tar to teach me that. Why? Hari Omer, it says, tar lo yava al roshai. It says a tar, a razor, should not go across his head. Ad melois. Now, what's the implication? It says a razor should not go across his head until melois. Mashma by melois, then a tar should go over his head. Shari Omer tar lo yava al roshai ad melois. HaTorah Omer, what's the Torah saying? But when he's a Nazir, he shouldn't shave with a razor. But Malois, Acha Malois, Loite Milachas, Elibitar. So it's mashma according to him, right? It's mashma according to Rabbi, right? You don't need tar to Aser and Nazir to be made in Zirusai, right? You don't need tar to go ahead and what, and you don't need tar to teach me that. Good. In other words, the implication is that if you just tell me you can't use a razor during Malais, Memela, I know automatically that after Malais, you do use a razor. That's what Rebbe's implication is. So if that's Rebbe's implication, right, then what does Rebbe hold? What's Rebbe's Shita? If you look at Taisus, it comes to include the meaning day 30. Even if you need it for itself, you would know automatically that what it's betar. Because if you're telling me you can't do it during the Naziris, the implication is that you should do it after the Naziris. That's the machlokes on the Tanakama. The Tanakama aisi letar mishum tiglachas achrayna. The whole reason the Tanakama brings the tar is for the last cutting of his hair. Uparich. The Gemara asks, "V'ksiv tar lo yavar mashma shar ma'avir nami vehechi kama Rebbe de asi legufei the mashma de betar dafka mechayev." In other words, the Rebbe is saying the only thing you'd be over on is with a tar. Rabbi says tar. Rabbi's saying that tar, the gufay for itself. That what? That the tar is going to only. I would not be chayiv malchus if I used any other means. Good. Now, that's correct if you learn that the kodeshiyah and everything. But the word layavar is mashma. Anyway, you take it off. So the Gemara asks right away. If Rabbi says the tar is just limited to tar, meaning I need tar to tell me you only chayiv for a razor, and automatically I hear from that after 30 days you do use a razor. Good, but I wouldn't know depilatories. I wouldn't know scissors. So therefore, what does Rabbi do with the words v'ksiv tar layavar roishay? The key word there is layavar. Mashma, any havara, any way you take it off, you get malchus for it. So why would it say that? It says Gemara lava love b'shnei lavim, to be over what on 2 lavim. According to Rebbe, if you cut your hair with a razor, you're over 1 on razor and 2 the issue of layavar. So it comes out like this. Rebbe holds that also the only chiyuv you be chayiv for is if you use a razor. You would not be chayiv for a scissor. You would not be chayiv what for a depilatory. What's layavar mashma any which way? No, it's teaching me if you do use a razor, there's 2 malchus. One for what for a tar, and the second one layavar. So it comes out like this. Let's go summarize the shittas. Okay, Rabbi Yoshia, again, if you go ahead, you only chayiv malchus for a tar. You only chayiv malchus for a tar. You would be chayiv an asay for anything else but a razor. Rabbi Yonason, you'd only chayiv malchus for a tar. You would not be chayiv even an asay. Right? But if you use a tar, you mavatal the asay. Then we have a brisa that says you be chayiv like our Mishnah. Since it says tar and it says layavar, not lav dafka tar, who adin lashon layavar, anything else. Then why does it say tar? If you chayiv for anything, malchus, it says the word tar to teach me what? That when you finish the naziris, you should use the tar. Rebbe says no. Rebbe says I don't need it for that. Because Rebbe holds you only chayiv for tar, you're not chayiv for anything else. You're not chayiv for anything else. How do you know at the end of naziris? It says it's a dava pashut. Right? The Torah is strict to tell you can't use the tar during your naziris. It must be makpada. Is that what? After naziris, you should use the tar. Okay, that's according to Rebbe. So now, according to Rebbe, what does he do with the layavar? So that teaches layavar to be chayiv what for the tar you be chayiv to lavin. But according to Rebbe, he would be similar to Rabbi Yoshia and Rabbi Yonason in the fact that you would not get malchus for using anything else besides a razor. Have a good Shabbos. Parsha Zachas Daraisa, guys.